I suppose what really interests me is how patterns build up and deteriorate and change, which is why I'm interested in regular patterns that aren't actually regular. So you could look at that and say, oh, it's all just triangles, but they're not regular triangles. They're not always in rows. There's always something that breaks it up. So once I get onto the colour combinations as well, you like to just see the permutations that it can go through. Yellow and blue, red and blue, and you get different balances and different sorts of movement going on. So it's just a matter of coming up with an idea and then trying to push it as far as possible. I used to colour in the squares in my graph book when I was in grade 3 instead of doing my geometry. So I suppose it started then. But I've continued and become more serious about it, I suppose, because I keep looking at the artist side, Maya. And I think in the past, just in the recent past, there's been, patterns have been out of fashion, very much more into expressionist art, whereas I think patterns are more enduring. And also patterns I see on fabrics from all over the world, pottery, they're just everywhere. You know, it's fascinating. I think I've just got to the stage recently where I don't feel apologetic about it. You can see over my period as a painter, I've often gone into fairly realistic things or reasonably representational, and then I always reject them ultimately and go back to pattern making. And I don't mind the more representational ones at all, but I sort of feel like I did them to prove I could do it rather than because that's where I think my real strength as an artist lies. I like the idea of having a person who's looking past the viewer, because it was a bit of a joke in a way, because there was so much in the theoretical literature about the gaze and men looking on pictures of women in this particular way that was voluptuous or sexual or whatever, and I just like the idea of having the person looking and they're actually looking at something that's way beyond the viewer, as if the viewer was absent almost. Maybe it reveals my Catholic childhood, I suppose. Again, it was a bit of a joke because I just liked those icons and the Byzantine works, and I did an earlier painting that was very much a send-up, and it was a self-portrait, and it said myself at 16, and it was someone with their arms out and a halo on, and was a way looking back at myself, and I thought I did think of myself a bit like that, as some very pure person who was beyond the concerns of the world, because I was being very zen and doing yoga and stuff at that stage. So, you know, it was a pain in the neck for my parents. But so it was looking back at that and just making a comment about it. And also it sets off the hair very well to have yellow behind it, which is another reason. I mean, for a long time I thought that I was really disappointed with myself, because I thought that my art looked like it was just a whole hodgepodge of lots of different things, and there was nothing there that was particularly distinctive. And then I went back when I was visiting my parents, and I saw some drawings I did when I was 13 and 14, and I looked at those, and then I looked at some others that I had put away, and I thought, yeah, I can actually see a pattern there and some sort of unity. And I think it does come back to my just abiding passion for colours and pattern. Well, I think a lot of people have very little understanding of non-objective art. You know, people still want to see a nice landscape or a pot of flowers because they feel that they can judge quality then. If it looks, the more it looks like the item, the more they think, the better they think it is. Whereas I think when they're confronted with abstract art, they really don't know what to make of it. And I think that's a shame, because there's a lot of pleasure to be got out of abstract art.